Everyone, welcome back. So today we're doing a deep dive into Ghanaian entrepreneurship
Okay.
and specifically looking at this interview with Obeng Darko, who is a successful entrepreneur in Ghana, and he has some really interesting ideas.
Yeah, he's got some pretty unconventional views on what success looks like.
Yeah, and that's what really drew me to this piece.
I think that's something that we often struggle with is how to define success.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I saw a statistic that something like 75% of businesses fail in Ghana within the first 5 years.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot higher than the global average.
Right. And so I was like, man, that's got to be a tough place to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
But then Obeng Darko argues that this statistic is actually based on a very Western model
Yeah.
of what business should look like, and doesn't necessarily reflect the reality for a lot of Ghanaians.
It's interesting because he makes this distinction between, say, a tech startup that's looking for venture capital
Yeah.
and a woman who builds a business,
Yeah.
over decades, starting from a street stall.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What does he mean by this kind of more organic growth, which sounds
Yeah.
a bit vague?
Yeah, so he's talking about, starting small, knowing your market really well,
Mm-hmm.
and building from there. Like, he gives an example of a friend who owns a shop now.
Okay.
Literally started by selling things on the street,
Wow.
then moved to a table, then a kiosk, then a shipping container.
Wow.
And finally, decades later, he's able to build his own shop.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible resilience.
And long-term vision.
Yeah. You don't always see that in these businesses that are very focused on rapid growth.
Right, exactly. And that ties into his criticism of using traditional metrics.
Okay.
Like, revenue in dollars or having a formal business structure as the only markers of success.
Got it.
He asks a really interesting question. He says, if someone bootstraps for 10 years and makes 100,000 cedis a month, are they less successful than someone who gets free money and makes millions?
That's a really good question. It really makes you think about what we define as success.
Exactly.
Is it just purely about the amount of money you make, or is there something to be said for
Yeah.
building something sustainable
Yeah.
that benefits your community,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't attract a ton of outside investment?
So looking beyond those conventional metrics,
Right.
and he gives this great example to illustrate the point.
Sure.
A young guy approached him saying, I've got a laundry business
Yeah.
and I need an investor.
Okay.
Now, the guy was only making like 3,000 cedis a month,
Okay.
but he was convinced that he needed someone to pour money in to scale up.
Oh, wow.
And Obeng Darko was like, okay, but first, prove the concept.
Mm,
Build a solid foundation first.
right.
Really understand the local context
Mm-hmm.
before trying to, attract outside investment.
Right, because what works in Silicon Valley might not work in Accra.
Exactly.
I wonder how much of that failure statistic is due to people just trying to apply a model that doesn't fit. But then he goes on to say that one of the biggest hurdles for Ghanaian entrepreneurs is actually mindset, a
Interesting.
lack of belief in themselves and their own country.
That's fascinating. He connects this lack of self-belief
Yeah.
to the lasting impact of colonialism
Yeah.
and, a Western-centric education system.
Oh, wow.
He even gives this little example of how in school, kids are often asked to give their names in English. And it's like this subtle message that what's inherently yours, your given name, isn't good enough.
Wow. That's interesting.
Right.
Do you think he's overstating that a little bit?
He contrasts this with his observation of Chinese entrepreneurs who are thriving in Ghana.
Okay.
They maintain their cultural identity, their language, even their religious practices.
Got it.
And he believes that the strong sense of self allows them to operate with a different kind of confidence.
It's like they haven't been conditioned to see themselves as somehow less than
Right.
on the global stage. And this leads into one of the things I found most interesting about this interview,
Okay.
which is his emphasis on financial literacy.
Yeah, he's a big advocate for that.
Yeah, and he says something pretty bold. He says financial intelligence is not in school.
Ooh. Ooh. That's going to get some reactions.
What are some of the specific things he thinks should be included in that kind of education?
Well, practical skills like budgeting, saving, investing, understanding debt, things that, most people don't learn in a traditional classroom.
Yeah, it's like he's saying financial literacy is like the foundation for
Yeah.
everything else that gives people the tools to build a secure future,
Exactly.
whether they're an entrepreneur or not.
Right.
And he doesn't just talk about theory. He gives concrete examples.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about a teacher who built a successful side hustle by investing in snail farming.
Snail farming, huh?
Okay, that's a new one. But it makes sense combining local knowledge
Yeah.
with financial savvy. Did he share any other examples?
He talks about his own kids having piggy banks
Oh,
and saving their allowance to donate to an orphanage.
that's awesome.
To instill these habits from an early age.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, but building a business, especially in a place like Ghana,
Yeah.
surely takes more than financial smarts.
Sure.
What does he say about the day-to-day, the grind?
Discipline and determination.
Okay.
He talks about his own struggles when he was first starting out.
Yeah.
Setbacks, long hours. He had to dig deep to overcome those challenges.
But it's about having that stick-to-ativeness,
Yeah,
even when things get tough.
right.
How do you cultivate that kind of resilience?
Well, he draws inspiration from figures like Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
Ghana's first president, Nkrumah, faced imprisonment and exile,
Wow.
but never gave up on his vision for a free and independent Ghana.
Powerful example.
Right.
But it's easy to talk about these like historical figures.
Yeah.
What about the real everyday challenges like your car gets broken into?
Oh, yeah.
Which, unfortunately, in Accra is not uncommon.
He actually addresses that.
Really?
He says someone stole your car mirror. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Protect yourself, of course,
Right.
but don't let setbacks derail you.
That's a great point.
Sometimes you have to see obstacles as opportunities for
Yeah.
creative problem solving.
I like that.
Yeah.
He also talks about the allure of visas,
Yeah.
how a lot of young Ghanaians see opportunity overseas.
Yeah, a lot of people think that the opportunities are better elsewhere.
But he has a very different perspective.
He argues that true success lies in building something that benefits your own community. And he makes this bold statement. He says, in 20 years, you'll be far greater if you stay here than if you run away.
Whoa. That's a thought-provoking statement.
It is.
It seems to go against this like common narrative
Yeah.
of seeking greener pastures elsewhere.
Right.
What are his reasons for believing so strongly in staying in Ghana?
Well, he believes that there's a level of freedom and dignity that can be harder to achieve in a foreign country,
Okay.
where you're constantly navigating, issues of debt, racism, cultural barriers.
Yep.
And he argues that the opportunities in Ghana are often overlooked.
So it's about shifting your perspective,
Yeah.
seeing the potential.
In your own backyard.
Yeah, in your own backyard, not always looking outwards.
Right.
But isn't he worried that they'll miss out on valuable experiences?
He addresses that.
Okay.
He says that he personally achieved more success in 5 years in Ghana than he did in 18 years living abroad.
Wow.
So,
That's pretty convincing.
yeah, he's not saying that going abroad is inherently bad,
Right.
but he's encouraging young Ghanaians to really question their motivations
Yeah.
and consider the possibility that they might achieve even more by staying.
Yeah, and contributing to their own country.
Right.
It's about seeing the value
Mm-hmm.
in building something from the ground up,
Yeah,
in a place where you have a deep understanding of the culture, the people, the challenges.
exactly.
He also touches on this idea that Africa is inherently poor.
Yeah.
This narrative that we hear a lot.
Yeah, in the Western media.
What's his take on that?
He believes that this very concept of Africa being poor is a program designed to keep the continent dependent
Okay.
on outside forces.
Interesting.
It's a narrative that's been imposed, not a reflection of the reality.
Of the continent's resources.
Yeah, the resources and the potential.
So he's calling for a reframing,
Yeah.
a recognition of Africa's strengths.
Right.
Rejecting this idea of perpetual poverty.
Exactly.
But what about concrete actions?
Okay.
What specific steps does he suggest?
He emphasizes the importance of finding a skill to monetize.
Okay.
Something that you can offer to the marketplace.
Create value from.
And he stresses the need to build a strong network
Okay.
of ambitious peers.
Got it. So people who are equally driven.
Yeah, people who are committed to success.
But that can be tough to find those kinds of people,
Sure.
especially when there's so much pressure to conform,
All right.
to follow the traditional path.
He talks about the importance of personal development beyond formal education. He actually encourages young people to put their university certificates aside
Whoa.
and act as if they didn't go to university at all.
That's a pretty radical idea.
Yes.
Isn't he worried that people will misinterpret that message?
He's not saying that education is worthless,
Okay.
but he's saying it's not the only path to success,
Got it.
and that sometimes the most valuable skills are learned outside of the classroom. He suggests learning from friends who dropped out of school and built successful businesses,
Okay.
picking up practical skills, understanding the dynamics of the local market.
It's about finding those mentors and role models
Yeah.
who've achieved success through unconventional means.
Right.
But what about the people who do go to university? They
Wow.
come out with a degree. What's his advice for them?
He encourages them to be willing to get their hands dirty,
Oh,
to learn by doing,
yeah.
to not be afraid to start at the bottom. He
Yeah.
shares his own experience of working a regular job while building his business on the side.
So having that hustle mentality,
Yeah.
willingness to put in the work, even when you're not seeing immediate results.
Exactly. He talks about the importance of having a clear vision, a plan for the future, setting specific goals.
Okay.
He encourages people to write down their goals,
Oh, well,
to
okay.
visualize themselves achieving them,
Oh.
break them down into smaller, more manageable steps.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
He also touches on the role of religion,
Yes.
which is a bit of a sensitive topic,
It is.
especially in a place like Ghana where faith is so central. What's his perspective?
He cautions against becoming so religiously addicted
Okay,
that you neglect to put in the hard work necessary for success.
got it. So it's about finding that balance.
Right. He believes in the power of faith,
Mhm.
but he also emphasizes the importance of taking action
Right.
and utilizing your own abilities.
Okay,
He even suggests that people should read religious texts independently
interesting.
and form their own interpretations
Okay.
rather than blindly following, external authorities.
I like the taking ownership of your beliefs,
Yeah,
not relying on external validation.
right.
He also talks about choosing the right friends and partners,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. He stresses the importance of surrounding yourself with people who share your vision, who support your ambitions.
Okay.
He encourages finding a partner
Whoa.
who is equally driven and ambitious,
Interesting.
someone you can build a life and business with.
Yeah, so emphasizing the power of those shared goals.
Exactly. Mutual support.
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
What about the people who don't have a supportive network
Mhm.
or who are struggling to find their tribe?
He acknowledges that building a business in Ghana
Yeah.
or anywhere can be incredibly challenging.
Right.
There are obstacles like, unreliable infrastructure,
Yeah.
bureaucratic hurdles, limited access to capital.
Those are drill.
Yeah. But he believes those challenges can also foster creativity and resourcefulness.
Okay, so it's about finding solutions that fit the context,
Hey.
not trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
Right. He points out that while some might see goats and cattle in the street as a sign of chaos,
Uh-huh.
others see an opportunity for transportation.
Okay.
In a place where cars might be impractical,
That's a great analogy.
it's about focusing on solutions,
Yeah.
adapting to the circumstances.
He also talks about learning from mistakes,
Yeah,
not being afraid to fail.
absolutely. He shares his own experiences of setbacks in his early business ventures and how he persevered through those challenges to ultimately achieve success.
Okay.
Reminds listeners that failure is a part of the journey.
Yeah.
The key is to learn from those experiences and keep moving forward.
Not about avoiding failure, but about embracing it
Right.
as a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
He also talks about developing a strong work ethic,
Yes.
not expecting handouts.
Right.
Does that mean he's against government support for entrepreneurs?
He's not against government support, but he believes that relying too heavily on external factors can be disempowering.
Okay.
He wants to see young Ghanaians taking ownership of their destinies, building their own successes.
So fostering a culture of self-reliance
Yeah.
and innovation
Right.
rather than dependence on handouts or external saviors.
Right.
But he also recognizes that there are systemic challenges
Oh, absolutely.
that need to be addressed.
He talks about the legacy of colonialism,
Right.
how it has impacted the mindset of many Africans,
Right.
leading to a lack of self-belief, a sense of inferiority.
Yeah. And how do you overcome that?
He believes that education is key,
Okay.
but not the kind of education that simply replicates colonial models.
Got it.
He wants to see a curriculum that is relevant to the needs of Ghana, that empowers young people to think critically and creatively.
So decolonizing the education system,
Yeah.
creating a learning environment that fosters innovation and self-reliance.
Exactly.
But he also talks about personal development.
He encourages young people to read widely, to seek out knowledge and information that will help them to develop a strong sense of self, a clear understanding of their place in the world.
Yeah.
He believes that true freedom lies in being able to express your destiny and purpose in life.
That's powerful.
It is.
It's about moving beyond just surviving
Yeah.
to truly thriving.
Living a life that is aligned with your values.
Yeah, living a life that's aligned with your values.
Yeah.
He also talks about the importance of financial literacy
Right.
understanding how money works.
He criticizes the current education system
Yeah.
for failing to equip students with these essential life skills and believes that financial education should be a core part of the curriculum,
Yeah.
starting from a young age.
So he's advocating for a more holistic approach to education
Absolutely.
that not only teaches academic subjects, but equips young people with those
Yeah.
practical skills.
The skills they need to succeed in life.
Yeah, financially and personally.
Exactly. He believes that education should be about empowering individuals to reach their full potential.
It's about investing in human capital,
Yeah.
not just for economic growth, but for the overall well-being
Right.
of the nation.
Right.
That's a really inspiring vision.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. He's painting this picture of a Ghana that's not defined by its challenges,
Right.
but by the ingenuity and resilience.
Of its people.
Yeah. And he's not just waiting for someone else to make it happen.
No.
He's actively working to create that future through his mentorship and his advocacy for change.
Right.
But does he ever get discouraged? I mean, changing mindsets is hard work,
Yeah.
especially when you're going against such deeply ingrained beliefs and societal norms.
He acknowledges that there will be pushback.
Yeah.
He even talks about how his own parents initially questioned his decision
Really?
to return to Ghana
Wow.
and focus on building businesses there.
So even his family wasn't fully on board at first.
No.
How did he convince them that he was on the right track?
He says they just didn't understand why he was working so hard when he could have pursued a more traditional path.
Yeah, gotten a visa, gone abroad.
Right, exactly.
But when they saw what he was able to accomplish,
Yeah.
the success he achieved
Right.
by building businesses that were rooted in Ghana, they started to come around.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that sometimes you have to trust your instincts,
Yeah.
pursue your vision even when those closest to you might not understand.
And it highlights the power of leading by example.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words.
He also talks about the importance of staying focused on your goals,
Yes.
tuning out the noise, the negativity, the people who doubt your vision.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah, especially in a culture where there's a lot of pressure to conform,
Yeah.
to follow a prescribed path.
To follow the traditional path.
How do you deal with that pressure?
He encourages young people to surround themselves with supportive peers,
Okay.
to build a network of like-minded individuals,
Find your tribe.
right, who share their ambitions
Yep.
and who are willing to encourage and challenge them along the way.
Yeah. The people who believe in you, who are going to support you on your journey.
Exactly. Having the right people in your corner can make all the difference.
What about access to capital, though?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, starting a business takes money.
It does.
How does he address that challenge?
He encourages people to start with what they have,
Okay.
to be resourceful, creative in finding ways to fund their ideas.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of bootstrapping,
Right.
finding ways to generate income from your skills and talents.
Even if it's just a side hustle at first.
Yeah, even if it's just a side hustle.
Prove that there's a market
Yeah, validate your idea.
before you go looking for millions of dollars.
Exactly.
He also talks about the dangers of debt.
Oh, yeah. He cautions young people
Yeah.
against falling into the trap of consumerism,
Mm-hmm.
accumulating debt for things that they don't need,
Yeah.
don't contribute to their long-term financial well-being. He encourages people to focus on building assets,
Oh,
things that will generate income and appreciate in value over time.
so it's about building wealth, not just accumulating stuff.
Right, exactly.
He also talks about investing in your education.
Yes. He emphasizes the need for lifelong learning,
Okay.
constantly seeking out new knowledge and skills
Mm-hmm.
that will make you more valuable in the marketplace.
Right. So be a student of life.
Yeah.
Always curious.
Yes.
Always learning. Always growing.
Always growing.
But also, he talks about the importance of giving back.
Absolutely. He believes that true success
Yeah.
is not just about personal gain.
Mm-hmm.
It's about contributing to the well-being of others.
So recognizing that we're all interconnected,
Yes.
that our success is tied to the success of our community.
Right. Our success is tied to the success of our community.
It's a really powerful message.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the challenges
Yeah.
and the negativity that we hear about Africa.
Right.
But Open Garco is offering a different perspective, one that's grounded in hope and resilience, and a belief in the potential of Ghana and his people.
It's inspiring.
He's a reminder that change is possible,
Yeah.
but it requires us to shift our mindsets
To embrace a more empowering narrative.
and to take action
And to take
to
action.
create the future that we want to see. He's a true inspiration.
He is.
You know, I'm left wondering if his vision resonates so deeply.
Yeah.
Why aren't we seeing more of this reflected in policies and programs
Mhm.
aimed at supporting entrepreneurship in Ghana?
Right.
Maybe this deep dive will spark some new ideas and conversations
I hope so.
about how we can create a more supportive ecosystem for those who are daring to dream big
Yeah.
and build a brighter future for themselves and their communities.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of change.